What's up, guys? It is the Behind the Glass squad. We are taping this before the show on Thursday. We all got a busy schedule, and timing-wise just didn't work out. Anthony's dealing with a eardrum injury. Earl's dealing with a toothache injury. I'm the healthy one, so if they sound a little quiet or a little off, if you guys want to explain to the people, you tell them. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I don't know, man. I ruptured my eardrum. I have no idea how, so I'm in it for 8 to 12 weeks with a tunnel sound in my left ear. But
I think I got a tooth infection. I've had a massive headache and toothache for the last few days, and took some meds, shot myself up so we can do Behind the Glass so I can help out this morning. But Mamba mentality, man.
Fighting through. So everyone be nice to Earl online. Be nice to Anthony. I saw some little bit of backlash to Anthony for his Broncos hat and let's ride off the top of the post-game
I respect
show.
you for
It was
doing
worth it.
man.
So just know he has a broken eardrum. Maybe some of the internet comments, whatever. But guys, let's talk a little football here as we get closer to the Rams game. This was a game when we looked at the schedule a while ago. We thought the Rams would be out of it. They might be trying to work towards the future. But they're frisky. They've won a couple in a row. And something that kind of worries me about this game is this is a absolute, no doubt about, must-win for Los Angeles in terms of their playoff picture. It's an important game, but not necessarily a loser leaves town for the Browns. They could lose this game, and they have games against Houston and Jacksonville coming up, which are more important to their playoff standings. But does the fact that this game mean everything to the Rams concern you a little bit, knowing that this is essentially win and we have a chance, lose, and we're done?
No, because every game for the rest of the season with what we've gone through is a must-win for us, and I think our guys are ready to step up to the challenge. It'll be a closer game than I expected it to when we originally picked the schedule, I think, but I think we match up all right with them, and I don't think it'll make much of a difference. The only thing I'm worried about is that we're out on the West Coast.
I think for me, when I look at it, this is a must-win game for the Rams, and the Rams will be prepared. I'm not really necessarily worried about them being prepared as long as we are prepared. I think if we're prepared, then we should be able to go out there and compete and handle our business. I'm not really as shocked as everyone else to see the Rams having some type of success. For the most part, you still got guys on that team that did win the Super Bowl. I think Matthew Stafford came back this year with something to prove.
Yep.
And Sean McVay is still a damn good head coach. So even through the process of them kind of like rebuilding and gearing themselves through the future, like they've done a good job of still keeping themselves relevant. We talk all the time about this will be the first year that they have all their draft picks, to their disposal.
In a long time.
In a long time. And to see how well they've done drafting players without having that first or second round pick for the last 4 or 5 years, like I think it puts them in a situation to have success now and in the future. The thing is can you go out there on the defensive side of things, solve your issues, and try to be able to play chess with Sean McVay when it comes to his offensive scheme?
Yeah.
That's going to be the biggest thing right there.
You mentioned Sean McVay, and we probably have done a bad job as a production staff not highlighting him enough in this matchup. Because Sean McVay, when it comes to ranking the best coaches, I don't think he's in the Andy Reid, Belichick tier.
He's tier 2.
But he's on the trajectory towards tier 1 more than anywhere else. I just looked up his playoff record a second ago because you mentioned this is absolutely a must-win game for the Rams. He's 7-3 in the playoffs in his career. When he's been nut crunching time for the Rams, Sean McVay has been at his best. They've won a Super Bowl. He's made it to 2 Super Bowls. And when they lost to the Patriots in, was that 2021, I believe?
That 10-3 Super Bowl?
Yeah, lowest. I mean, he was thoroughly outcoached. And that offense throughout the entire season was high-flying, high-powered, putting up points galore. And then Belichick, with that extra week to prepare, kind of cracked the code.
Yeah.
And since then, despite having a fluctuating amount of talent, they went from being super talented to not talented to now they're kind of in the middle. They've always been consistent, and that's a testament to McVay. And consistency, when we talk about Kevin Stefanski, well, we have one coach who's maybe more consistent than anybody, and Stefanski, I'm not saying he's a good coach, bad coach. He runs the ball out one game, he throws the ball out one game. Consistency is not a word I'd use to describe him. So maybe that's something we have to talk about a little more, is just the head coaching matchup. A guy who knows exactly what he wants to do and a team that's bought into exactly what he wants to do versus a guy, for us in Cleveland, who is more matchup dependent. And he goes into each game with a game plan of I think this will work against this specific defense, but the following week, I may throw that out.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have said it any better. I think we didn't do the greatest job highlighting how good of a coach Sean McVay is. And I think this will be a chess match. I think the Cleveland Browns defense has struggled, especially in the run defense department lately. And I think that, we look at his scheme. Me and you were talking earlier this week. You're starting to see a lot of pieces of his puzzle being used in other organizations.
Oh, yeah.
Like all of this started, I can remember when Todd Gurley was the running back. Mm-hmm. And a lot of, these RPOs and motions and things like that, to me, he was like one of the first coaches that I seen doing that. And now you're seeing it everywhere. And so, this is going to be a game for the Cleveland Browns. I think they have to have it. For me personally, I went into last week thinking they had to have that game. I think because you lost that game, you really have to have this game now. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't Pittsburgh beat the Rams earlier this year?
Pittsburgh beat the Rams on a weird, wonky. LA got the stop, but they couldn't review it because they didn't have the challenge.
And so when you get to talking about tiebreakers and things like that, I kind of consider this game a must-win for the Cleveland Browns because there's no way in hell you can go on this West Coast trip and come home 0-2, right? I think once you figured out DTR was the starter, you get past Pittsburgh, we broke this game down. Okay, now it's a 7-game season, and the schedule is not as easy as first glance when we first looked at it. You can really lose to Jacksonville. You can really lose to Houston. And for whatever reason, the Bears has been playing some really good football lately. So I look at the schedule and knowing what's ahead, especially knowing what just happened last week, this is a game that the Cleveland Browns absolutely have to have.
And when you look at the schedule, and this is not something I thought 3 weeks ago, my mindset's changed.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Browns have to win 3 of these games. You pick the 3, whatever. They got to win at least 3 to get to 10 wins. But 2 of those might be week 17 and 18 against the Jets, who at that point, assuming anything doesn't change, will be playing Tim Boyle or Zach Wilson and be completely out of playoff contention, which you would hope could be a win.
Yeah.
And then Cincinnati with Jake Browning, who in week 18, I'm sure they're going to play all the backups, practice squad. At that point, they're going for a pick, barring they get hot. But if you go 1-4 before those last 2, no one's feeling good. So I guess my point is I looked at it as you got to win 3 games. Hey, well, you got 2 on the back end. I'm worried about getting to the back end in one piece now.
Exactly.
Which is why I think.
Exactly.
I think this game, if I had to say it's a must-win, I think it is more of a must-win for the Rams because they don't have as many opportunities. They're 5-6. They need wins. The Browns, if they lose this, they can still beat Houston and Jacksonville and essentially eliminate Houston. And those are more technically important because it's an AFC game. But you got to win 3, and I don't think you can just count on the last 2 being 2. I don't think you can go 1-4 and then just bank the last 2 because if we're 1-4, Flacco, that means he probably hasn't been any good. Mm-hmm. That means if DTR comes back, he hasn't been any good. At that point, are we sure? If I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if that's the case, why do we have confidence that DTR is better than Tim Boyle or Jake Browning at that point, or Joe Flacco or whoever's playing quarterback for the Browns? What? They went 1-4 against that stretch. Why would we think that that's just a gimme against them? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I just don't think you could bank on waiting that long to be good.
No, I agree. You said, we need what? At least probably 10 wins.
I think you need 10 to get in the playoffs in this AFC.
Yeah.
I don't think you can give up anything easily now. Every game until you hit that 10 is you have to go. When you hit that 10, okay, you still want to win as many as you can. I mean, if we can finish. We have 4 losses right now, so that'd be 13-4.
Well, if you go 13-4, you might have a first-round bye.
Why not, right? But I
dream big, yeah.
You can't give up anything. It's the NFL, you can't go into any of these games thinking they're a gimme.
We've seen. I mean, you look
especially
after across the league.
Houston.
And Earl's looking at something, and he just took a deep.
So I'm looking at the conference, right? You got Baltimore at 9-3, who's on the bye week. You got 2 through 4 are 8-3, which is Kansas City, Jacksonville, and Miami. 5-6 right now is Pittsburgh and Cleveland at 7-4, and then you have Indy sitting there at 6-5. I get it. This is a non-conference game, but I am so worried about the whole tiebreaker scenario. Yeah. Now I'm looking at every AFC team and wonder, okay, who played who in the NFC? Who beat who? I need to make sure that my team beat the same team that my AFC opponents beat Because, like, you know, I talked about this last week on the radio after the Black Friday game. You know, Miami is one of those teams that we're competing with for one of the top spots in the AFC. They beat the Jets, right? So if Miami beat the Jets, you can't afford to lose to the Jets. If Pittsburgh, who's already ahead of you via tiebreakers or percentages, whatever the case may be, if they already beat the Rams, you can't afford to lose to the Rams.
Is common opponent a tiebreaker? I remember Bolton sent us that text, and he went there.
We got to figure it out.
Let me hear.
Because not to cut you off, but Cincinnati beat the Rams too, right?
Cincinnati did beat the Rams.
Cincinnati beat the Rams too.
Yeah.
So it's like you're in a situation to where you really can't afford to lose to this team because the teams in your division has already beaten this team, and with the division being so tight, it's games like this that might come down to a tiebreaker scenario that you just don't want to be on the wrong side of.
Well, just think about the AFC too, because like we counted out the Broncos at the beginning of the season, we counted out Houston at the beginning of the season, and now they're both
They're
right
alive and
there.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean,
Earl's right. They do matter. So real quick, and then chime back in.
yeah,
but
go for it.
According to NFL.com, and I'll send you guys the link. If two teams are tied, it goes to the head-to-head.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case with the Rams, that won't be a tiebreaker. Then it goes to AFC games and your win percentage against AFC opponents. And then the third tiebreaker, so if that equals, this is where it comes into play, your win-loss percentage in common games. So that's where it would come into play. So to clarify, like, let's say the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cleveland Browns were both 10-7 and only one can get in. It would go to their record against the AFC each, and let's say, just for the sake of this, they were both 5-4 against the AFC or whatever the number is. Then it goes to your common opponents, and that's where Pittsburgh beat the Rams. Cleveland has to do so to keep up.
Exactly.
It is worth noting, too, Denver plays Houston this week in another monumental AFC playoff stakes game. Because Denver's 6-5, Houston 6-5
They're
as well.
6-5 as well.
And that's another head-to-head tiebreaker. Or no,
The Broncos are 5-5, right?
5-5.
Because they had a bye, right?
Yes, they're 5-5.
Their Broncos are 6-5.
Are they 6-5?
They're
Okay.
Yeah,
6-5.
because they've won 5 in a row.
Sorry, yeah, I missed
Seven
a game there
through
somewhere.
7-9, Indy, Houston, and Denver are all 6-5.
So that's gonna not eliminate somebody, but that's gonna be a double game because it'll be the head-to-head. So
Yeah.
like there's a lot of shaking and moving going on, and I think to Earl's point, every little advantage you can get in this is monumental and can't be understated. Speaking of this game, we may have a Joe Flacco sighting. It is Thursday morning. It is 9:38. So if anything changes, look, there's my watch. There's no Zoom, but it's 9:38. Earl, look at your
Nobody's
phone.
directing.
Confirm, like everyone confirm. It's not. We're not
is
lying to y'all. It's
9:38.
9:38.
Yes.
We may have a Joe Flacco sighting. Now, if Joe Flacco plays, if he plays, what do you Earl will start and I'll finish, but what do you think is realistic to expect from Joe Flacco?
I think just the most realistic for me, if Joe Flacco was to start, would just run a basic offense and try to keep everything vanilla without turning the football over. I know it's not a deep analysis of the situation.
Sometimes simple is better.
But this is somebody who's been in the building for about a week or two now, and, you know, he's still picking up the offense. He is a veteran quarterback who's been around for a long time. You know, when Bernie was on our show last week, he did say something that made a lot of sense, you know, about, you know, he's been in the league, 18 years?
He's seen everything.
He's seen everything.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know what all goes into learning an offense, picking up a system. I can only assume it's terminology, because when you talk about scheme and you talk about your packages, I think a lot of coaches in the NFL on offense and defense, they run a lot of the same things. Now, they might flip the way they run it and
But a
call
go
it
route's
something
a go route's a
different.
go route at
But
the end of the day.
it's all the same. It's just a different terminology. And I think with a veteran quarterback who's seen so much as he's picking up the offense, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Go out there and run what you know and not turn the football over. And hopefully we can play better complementary football this week than we did last week versus the Broncos. Because, you know, it won't matter if we can't run the football, and it won't matter if the Browns defense don't really kind of get back to playing to that level that we've been accustomed to seeing them play throughout this season. So for me, it's just go out there, run what you know, not turn the football over, and kind of just get us to next week.
Yeah, no, I mean, what is it? KISS, keep it simple, stupid. Like, don't do anything
No,
crazy.
you're right.
My biggest fear right now is Aaron Donald coming down on him and him getting hurt too.
Yeah.
Like we're running slim.
Man, we better not have
all
it.
of
Man,
our
listen,
depth.
I can't deal with another shoulder. I
Yeah,
can't.
hurt your ankle,
get out
hurt
of the
your
way.
legs,
Yeah.
break a finger.
I
but don't
can't
you
deal with
dare,
another
yeah.
shoulder, man.
No, I think him and Amari will be fine because they're both veterans. I think he won't have to worry about too much chemistry with any of the pass catchers. I think he'll be all right. Like it's not going to be a lights out, 35-point game, 36-point game, but I think he'll do what he needs to do to win because that's kind of what Flacco always did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did enough.
He was never like a flashy quarterback from what I remember. So
The playoff run was spectacular.
yeah,
for the most part. He was.
I don't remember much of that.
I just wonder how much was in the tank. Like, I wonder if he had
Yeah.
one more of those performances in him that he had when he was playing for the Jets versus the Browns in him, like, for this season. But I really don't have high expectations for him overall. It seems like a lot of the fans are starting to kind of get behind the fact that, I trust Joe Flacco more than DTR. But I still think in the long term, man, you got to run with DTR. Like, I went back. This dude got me watching, like, all 22s now, right? And
I've thought about getting him. Yeah.
Wait till I tell you what I did yesterday.
And just kind of looking at things from a different angle. And when you really go back and assess it, man, DTR really didn't play bad. And what pisses me off about the situation is, man, that third quarter, like, you just seen him kind of start to come alive. It was this one particular play where, like, I think we were in the red zone. And he was just bouncing around in the pocket, and you could see the poise, like, okay. It was almost like something clicked, like, I got this.
He kind of looked like, he looked like Russell Wilson a little bit.
Yeah.
On the touchdown Russell threw,
Yeah.
it actually, maybe I should put them side by side, and Russell ended up with a touchdown. DTR it was an incomplete pass, right?
Yeah,
It ended up being
to Amari
incomplete.
for the 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of bouncing around, but he showed the poise, and also, we want to rip Stefanski a lot. That was a damn good play call. He's got to be caught. He's got to be a better throw. I mean, it wasn't a great throw. He's got to catch it. So, speaking of all 22, most people spend their afternoons, like, doing real things. I went back. I watched 3 of Joe Flacco's games last year from the All-22 from the Jets. He hasn't thrown a touchdown pass since that game in Cleveland, by the way.
That's correct.
He only won one game with the Jets, and it was against us last year.
He only played 4, so it was small sample size. We didn't throw a touchdown the last 2. Here's what I got from watching Joe Flacco. If he has time to plant his feet and throw the ball, he'll be fine. He's a veteran quarterback. He doesn't have the greatest arm anymore. Like, the Jets weren't asking him to let it rip.
All right.
He had a strong arm. It's still strong enough. Like, I'm not going to say he's got a rocket, but it's strong enough. When he had time to plant his feet, he was fine. If anything was off platform, it was a bit of an issue. He is not mobile. Like, if you guys thought Jacoby Brissett was kind of immobile, wait till y'all see Joe Flacco. That dude is a statue. He is an anomaly in today's NFL. Guys like him don't exist. On the run, that's where his arm talent deterioration is most evident. But if they can protect him, and that's a big if, because Aaron Donald, and I asked Aditi, if you're watching this now, I asked Aditi earlier about this, and Aaron Donald, we're going to talk about it in the show, is as good as any defensive tackle of all time. And Batonio, Teller, Pochich, they're great. I'm taking Aaron Donald over anybody. It's no slight to them. I'm taking over anybody, maybe ever on the inside. And they got a couple other edge rushers who have got decent pressure numbers, even though they don't have sacks. If Jerron Christian and DeJuan Jones, who are my X factors in this game, can hold up, I think the Browns have a legitimate shot.
I mean,
if they can't, Joe Flacco might be seeing PJ
I'll take it
Walker
a step further when it comes to Aaron Donald. I know he's listed as a defensive tackle, but this is a dude who plays all over the defensive line. And I know we had this conversation yesterday, or the conversation was had on the show yesterday. For me, Aaron Donald is the best defensive player in the NFL when you look at, let's say, over the last 7 seasons, right? Like, I don't
got a stat for you when you're done.
Like, he's the best overall defensive player in the NFL. And I've went as far in recent years to saying, if you want to take away the quarterback position, there's nobody in the league better than him. Period.
You want some numbers?
So one second, I think we don't do enough justice to just how good this dude is. Like, when you talk about greatest players of all times, I don't even want to dummy him down to greatest defensive player of all time.
One of the best football players.
He's one of the best football players to ever play football. And man, it's gonna be a long day.
For anybody.
Even for the All-Pro Joe Batonio. That's a tough task.
So, you guys are watching this now on Thursday. This is one of the 5 McNuggets stats because you're a true OG behind the glass watcher. I'm gonna give you a McNuggets stat right now. This is number 5 tomorrow. Aaron Donald is one of 3 players ever to win 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. Can you name the other 2?
Ray Lewis, Lawrence Taylor.
One of those is correct, Lawrence Taylor. Can you name the other? And I'll give you a hint. It's recent.
It's recent. It's not. TJ doesn't have 3 yet.
His brother, JJ.
JJ
has 3. He has 7. Aaron Donald has 7 first-team All-Pros.
Good
Jerry
Lord.
Rice and Jim Otto have the most all-time with 10. Now, Donald's still playing at a very high level. He's made all NFL first-team or all-pro first-team 7 years in a row. None of those guys did it in 7 consecutive years.
That's crazy.
Tied for the most ever.
That's crazy.
PFF is PFF. Sometimes we disagree with PFF, but he graded out as their top-rated pass rusher from any position 7 consecutive years, from 2015 to 2022. And this season, he's 32 years old. His PFF season grade this year is an 89.8. That's the lowest of his career.
That's crazy.
I'll say that again. His season grade is an 89.8.
That's the lowest of his career.
And that is the lowest of his career.
That's insane.
This dude is listen, I'm gonna ask it. So question, I'm gonna ask Aditi this today. You guys heard me answer. And I think I know where you're gonna go because you already said this, but at the peak of their powers, so the best version of Aaron Donald and the best version of Myles Garrett, if you have to build a defense around one of those two guys, who you taking?
I'm taking Aaron Donald.
Oh, Aaron Donald. No
I'm taking Aaron Donald.
Is it not even close?
It's not. I ain't gonna say it's not even close. It's no shade to Myles Garrett.
Well, yeah, and obviously,
but to
great
me,
guys, yeah.
and it might be a difference of how they've been utilized throughout their career. I've literally seen Aaron Donald play every single position on the defensive line and have major success doing so. Like, this dude has been the most unblockable player in the history of the league. You can put 2 dudes on him, you can't stop him. You can try to block him with 3 people.
You heard Travis say it yesterday.
You can't stop him. Now, to be fair, and this is no shade, fans is going to hate this, but I've seen Myles Garrett kind of be contained a little bit at certain points in his career when he's been double-teamed or triple-teamed. And I get it. Myles has been one of the most double-teamed players in the league, for quite some time. But I would say, Aaron Donald's been double-teamed, triple-teamed damn near his entire career, and the production never laxed a little bit. I've seen different games throughout Myles' tenure to where a double-team or even a triple-team either sustained him, contained him, or just stopped him altogether. So,
yeah, no, it's I would take Donald too. I'm differential. I think if you could generate that much pressure from the interior of the line as opposed to from an edge, I just prefer that, and it's close.
Yeah.
But we're talking about a guy who
point of attack, you closer to the ball.
If he retired today, Aaron Donald would be, and he's older than Myles, so he's got more of a track record,
right.
But a Mount Rushmore caliber defensive player. Myles could be there at some point.
How many people was on the Mount Rushmore?
4.
4?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, but I don't ever see Myles getting,
Hey, listen, he could.
All-team pro that many years in a row.
Who's your Mount Rushmore defensive players?
Oh, dude, don't ask me that.
Okay. Well,
So
you
I think-
idolize us.
I think Lawrence Taylor's the GOAT.
Lawrence Taylor.
Like, he's the best defensive
Ray
lineman.
Lewis.
See, I don't know if Lewis is in the. So, okay.
Are we going to have another Deion Sanders debate
What's
today?
the same thing? It comes down to what do you value? Like, Ray Lewis is the best middle linebacker ever, point blank period, done.
Okay.
I don't know, like.
It's harder to, I guess it's harder than when I'm making a scene.
Well, like, Deion's the best cornerback ever.
Deion's on my Mount Rushmore.
I think you could put, like, 3 defensive ends. Or Donald.
Reggie White, Bruce Smith.
Lawrence Taylor.
Aaron,
And if that was your top 4, I'd be like, okay, I'm like, I can't really, or you know what I'm saying? Like, it's, but for me, if I had to go the 4 best defensive players ever, and mind you, I'm 30 years old, I haven't seen a lot of these guys. A lot of this is just based off what my dad said. I remember watching Ray Lewis, but I don't remember watching Ray Lewis, like, in the early part, like, the early part. I'd go Lawrence Taylor. I'd go Reggie White. Aaron Donald's the best defensive player I've seen ever. So I'm putting him on there just because personally, that with my own 2 eyes, I know he was unstoppable.
Okay.
And then okay, well, I have someone I want to say, but you guys have heard me for this.
Who?
I think Ed Reed is as good as I've ever seen.
I was literally sitting here thinking about Ed Reed.
Ed Reed was as good as I've ever seen from the defensive back position, but is he better than? I didn't watch Deion, so
and I know we talk about Rushmore, but we freestyling this BTG. I'm gonna tell you something. It was an era to where you couldn't, it was Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu, and Brian Dawkins, right?
3 of the best safeties ever.
Like 3 of the best safeties ever. But I'm not sure. I can argue I hate to do this because he played for the Steelers, but you can literally argue Troy Polamalu
It's up to
is up there as arguably one of the best safeties of all time. Ed Reed is
I
one
don't
of the
think
best
you can
safeties
argue.
of all
I think
time.
he is. Yeah, he
like
is.
whether you want to call Rod Woodson a
Safety
corner or
or-
a safety, it's up to you. You know, that's totally up to you. But
Deion's
Ronnie
right
Lott,
there.
you know what I'm saying, who plays safety, is arguably one of the best safeties of all time. But I don't think it's far-fetched to put Ed Reed in there. To me, Ed Reed was Peyton Manning on defense.
Well, so do you remember that? And so I think we're all smart dudes here.
Yeah.
We will never know. We'll know at our most 0.0001% amount of football is Bill Belichick and Peyton Manning. And when they were doing the all-time NFL top 100, and if you haven't seen this clip, go watch it. If you guys haven't seen it, I'll send it to you as soon as we go upstairs. There was a clip of Peyton Manning and Bill Belichick talking about Ed Reed and how smart he was on the football field. And there was a play in Peyton's career, and we have to watch this. He fooled Peyton Manning in a way Peyton's never been fooled. And Peyton explained it, and essentially he said he had done the same look all season. When they went to this look, Ed Reed would drop middle and then opened up the seam to Marvin Harrison or Reggie Wayne on the left. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And he did it all season, and he knew Peyton was going to see it on tape. And in either the Week 17 game or Week 16 game or the playoffs, I forget when it was, Peyton got that exact same look. And Ed Reed did exactly that. Except instead of fading, he turned his back and turned around and then sprinted and picked off the pass. And Peyton Manning was shocked. He's like, there's no way that shit.
He stunned it, turned around, looked at Marvin, and went straight that way.
Went straight there and picked off the pass. And Peyton was like, that's how he was the best defensive player I ever played against. He was the smartest. He's the one I was most scared of. And to hear someone like that, who's an all-time Hall of Fame, top 3-4 quarterback ever, say that Ed Reed put that much fear in him, and he was smart, and he had the production to back up like the intent.
I think he had like a 106-yard touchdown off an interception.
I'm gonna find that clip once I do it.
And that particular play, he read it like he was the player on offense, so to speak. Like, it was so crazy how he read this ball, you know, and it was almost like he knew exactly where he needed to be in that moment to go make a play. You know, Ed Reed was like a dominant playmaker. Troy Polamalu was another dominant playmaker. I think like Brian Dawkins, man, was like, outside of Sean Taylor, was probably one of the hardest hitting safeties, you know, of my childhood. When I think about the hardest hitting safeties, I always talk about Brian Dawkins, Sean Taylor, and Bob Sanders before the injuries, right?
And Sean Taylor, R.I.P.
Yeah, like to me, Sean Taylor don't have that situation happen to him. He's a Hall of Famer, right? We never seen nobody that big, that physically gifted with that type of speed, with the playmaking ability. I mean, hell, he changed Pro Bowl rules. Like he did. I don't know if you've ever seen the clip of him hitting a punter, man. But you can pull it out and look at it now. You can just like Sean Taylor hits punter in Pro Bowl. It was some of the craziest thing.
He killed him.
He
literally killed the guy.
Yeah,
Not literally killed the guy, but
I
was like, damn.
Yeah, but it's fun having these conversations, man, because I think a lot of it depends on what area you come from, you know. And
a lot of it's who you watch, man.
It's who you watch.
Yeah,
like
I'm a huge Von Miller fan, but that's because I watched the Broncos that whole time.
And he's one of the best pass rushers of all time. I don't think he's Mount Rushmore yet.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't think he's getting there.
Watch that when we're done, Ant. I'm watching with you, but don't watch it yet.
He watched it already.
It already loaded.
Yeah.
Oh, that guy.
We're gonna wrap up in
That
one
man
sec
saw
here,
Jesus.
guys. Last thing, real quick. We don't get to make picks on the show,
Yeah.
so let's real quick. We'll make some predictions. Ant, do the Rams or the Browns come out victorious on Sunday?
I wish I knew who was starting for the Browns.
That is the bit. Once again, it is now 9:55, so we're making this pick before we know the starter at quarterback.
I'm going to give this one to the Rams, unfortunately, because I don't know the starter for the Browns. They're playing at home. It's a long road trip for the Browns, and they're not practicing in their normal spot. So I don't know. I'm going to give the edge to the Rams. Broncos might give them a game, but I think the Rams still win.
I'm going with the Rams, and I think this might be I see how you look. This might be the first time I think I've legit, but I got to keep it 100 with y'all, man. Y'all might not like it, but hey, you got to respect it. I'm going with the Rams. There's nothing about this game right now that makes me feel confident. As Ant said, I don't even know who the starting quarterback is. You know, you going on the road to L.A. I think it'll be a friendly environment. I don't think the Rams have this great home field advantage.
It's gonna be a Browns game.
Yeah, but you know, I'm looking at how Matt Stafford has played. I don't know if Denzel Ward will be available, and that was a problem last week. Yep. I'm looking at this situation to where You know, they're running the ball very well. The Browns got some things that they need to correct. I think I just don't feel good today. Now, it's Thursday at 9:56 a.m.
I guarantee you at Sunday at 12:43, Earl's going to tweet out, "Dog pound changing my prediction.
Yo,
I got us winning 43-3.
Hey, look, I had us beating the Broncos last week.
Yeah.
That was my pick, and I came out pretty disappointed, honestly, with how we played last week.
Yeah, so I might change my mind once the information changes, but as of now, today, I think the Rams going to win this game.
Will you feel more confident if Flacco's starting or DTR starting?
Honestly, I think I feel more confident of DTR starting.
I think Flacco's going to end up being named the starter.
Yeah.
Mary Kay, just like both said, I think Mary Kay actually swayed my decision. This kid's a young rookie who got crushed. And even if he is cleared, he's only going to practice one day.
Yeah.
And I want my guy to have a little more rapport. And even maybe one day is more than what Flacco gets in 3 because he's been around. Like, who knows? With all that being said, I think the Rams have won 2 games against fluke teams. I don't think they're nearly as good. And I think this defense got embarrassed against Denver. And if they get, even though 20 points isn't really embarrassed, if they don't come out and play a really good game, I'm going to be really disappointed. So I think the defense leads the way. And then, once again, subject to change. Maybe I'll feel way worse or way better when they announce a starting quarterback. Yeah. Until then, I trust in this Browns defense, and I think it's going to be another ugly, but it'll be a successful weekend for the Browns. I can't see them going on this road trip against two bad offenses and not being as good as
this. Listen,
I'm gonna pick the Browns, but I'm not confident.
I hope I'm wrong, man, because I've really started to just break this down into the last 7 games.
Yeah.
And right now in the last 7 games, we 0-1. You know, at 7-3, it's all about how do you finish. You're right there on the cusp of a playoff berth. You're supposed to be one of the better teams in the AFC. You cannot afford to let the bottom fall out. And if the bottom falls out, then now we're having a totally different conversation about a lot of different things. And so to your point, when I think about it like that, it's like, man, there's no way you can go on this West Coast trip and drop 2 straight. And so this is one of those situations to where I hope I'm wrong. Yeah. I don't want to be right.
I mean, can I just go on record too? Like, if it does bottom out and everything, the first person I'm looking at isn't even Stefanski. I'm going to look at Barry and be like, okay, what more could we have done to cover depth? Because I get it. He put together a solid starting lineup, but I think we're seeing now we don't have much behind them.
But I'll say this, and
I'll say the offensive line.
This is not running to maybe it is or not running to Andrew Berry's defense. Exactly how much can you withstand, right?
No, that's fair.
I think Earl's
it comes to a point to where exactly how many injuries at key positions can you withstand? You know, I heard this conversation had on the radio yesterday, and I thought about it. Right, if you look across the NFL, there's 32 starting quarterbacks in the league right now. But you can really argue it's probably 15 good quarterbacks.
It's the worst pool of quarterbacks.
It's not like it's a lot of good quarterbacks. And so if you have a hard time fielding 32 quality positions,
that's fair.
Then like you telling me you can get 64?
Yeah, no, I think it's just the bitterness in me that we've been.
But
no,
so I get that, and I just look at all
these. It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
And one thing with the depth too. This is probably the deepest the Browns are going to be in the next 5 years because Deshaun's cap hit is $25 million lower right now than it is next year.
But I hit on the draft picks then. You know what I mean?
And that's what it comes down to.
And I don't trust. Maybe that's my thing. I don't trust Andrew Berry to draft at all.
I mean, to me, it's going to be a shared thing for real.
Yeah.
It's going to be a shared. It's going to be a shared responsibility because even at the end of the day, Barry can argue if this was like you sitting down and you going through like a court hearing and you want to argue each side, right? We can argue, okay, yeah, he made some questionable moves to put us in this situation. But then you could also argue, okay, well, everything that happened, Kevin Stefanski, you were still 7-3.
Yeah.
So if the bottom falls out and nobody else of significance get hurt, then that's on you.
This is
the bottom falls out
for another day because we got to run.
It's Mike's fault.
It's my fault. But maybe we look back and saying somehow beating San Francisco and Indy with P.J. Walker was actually a bad thing for Kevin Stefanski long term.
I got to go buy concert tickets. Yeah, let's wrap.
All right, let's wrap. We'll see y'all. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Later.